Welcome in, everybody. It's Misha, and today we're talking hypoglycemia because I had so many questions about it just randomly from different people when I was doing a talk the other day. And they were like, well, I have hypoglycemia. What about hypoglycemia? Why? But my blood sugars are low because we're talking about insulin resistance. So people normally think of insulin resistance as high levels of blood sugar or diabetes, as too much blood sugar in your bloodstream. But the hidden part is that insulin resistance can also drive something called reactive hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. So hyper being too high, hypo being too low, glycemia being the blood sugar content. So I want to go over this today and explain some of this so you can understand why this is happening and why this still applies to insulin resistance. Now, before we get started, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a real world woman who got really, really sick. And when all the doctors that I worked with couldn't help me and they were cycling me through different therapies and nothing was working, I feel like I threw a dart at the board and landed on this protocol that I'm going to talk about. Lo and behold, it actually helped. It reversed my diabetes, my hypertension, my insulin resistance is now gone. My blood sugars are all in normal range. Everything about my health that I was going to doctor after doctor after doctor to address got better. And one of the things that was happening for me was reactive hypoglycemia. I remember even going into the doctor and saying, and asking other people in the field, other nurses, other doctors, like, I get really cold after I eat. I get chills, goosebumps after I eat. I get really tired after I eat. Why is that? Shouldn't I mean, I just ate. Shouldn't I have energy? Not one professional talked to me about hyperinsulinemia, insulin resistance, any of that as a result of why I was feeling this way after I ate, why my blood sugars would drop so low. So, what I want to do today is help you guys with the information that I never got so that all of you can start to feel better and actually start to get this under control. My mind is kind of a geeky mind, always has been. I need to understand the root causes of things. Some people don't care. So if you don't care, just know that I have a protocol I'm going to talk about that just simply addresses it all by addressing insulin resistance. And if you need to know sooner, just go to my profile and check the links there. I'm going to show you how to do all of that later, because there's a short page that describes what the protocol is, how much it costs, and you'll be able to start to choose to make your life better too. So let's dive into hypoglycemia or low blood sugars today. Okay. Um, I already mentioned some of the symptoms, and I want to get back to the top of my you guys, I don't remember all this. Remember, I'm not a doctor. But you know what? I'm going to just say this. I was watching other doctors today, and I caught them looking at their notes, and I was like, oh, I'm not that bad. Just so you know. Okay, so look, if you've ever felt that, like that sudden crash of energy or those chills, how many of you guys have actually had chills or goosebumps after you eat? Like right after you eat. Has anybody else experienced that? I know there are people out there who have, because it's not just me. All right. So if you've ever felt this wave of exhaustion that hits you like a ton of bricks, or one minute you're fine and you have all the energy that you need, and the next you're just, your hands are shaking, your heart's racing, you feel like you need something, anything to eat right now. And what we're being told is to eat every 2 hours, and we're being told to have these rescue snacks like orange juice or a granola bar, or maybe it's a Snickers bar, maybe it's, I don't know, something that gets your blood sugar up quickly, because all of those things do. Grains, rice, potatoes, they all spike your blood sugar quickly. Okay. And that's what you're being told to do. Your blood sugar is low. Eat something, get your blood sugar back up. But that's actually causing a problem, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But maybe this is happening to you mid-morning after breakfast. Maybe it's happening a couple hours after you eat. Maybe it's happening right after you eat, and I'm going to explain why there's a difference in those timelines and what's really happening to you. Yes, there are other reasons why you may be experiencing low blood sugars, You might not even know that you're having low blood sugars because most people don't. They just experience that fatigue, that exhaustion, those chills. They just don't understand why they're feeling this way. They just know that it's happening. They don't even are most of us, like me, I wasn't correlating it to when I was eating at first. Eventually, I started realizing, hey, this is happening after I eat, but I wasn't realizing that even hours after I ate, this was happening, still related to the food I ate. So let's talk about this because that desperate feeling, that crash isn't just hunger, right? It's a blood sugar crisis. So if you're experiencing it regularly, it might be a sign that something deeper is going on inside your body, and that thing is likely insulin resistance. So blood sugar crashes like this are not just uncomfortable. They're a warning sign. They might seem like a minor inconvenience at first. You might not even pay much heed to them, just like, ooh, this is uncomfortable. I don't like it. Not sure why this is happening. But over time, they can be part of a much bigger problem that leads to constant cravings, fatigue, weight struggles, and even leads into chronic disease. Chronic disease, you guys. These dips in energy are a sign, a warning sign that something's going wrong. And if you don't address it, it could end up in things like it did for me, like losing my gallbladder, like having hypertension and resulting CVEs, like having my joints failing, like having my hair falling out. All of those things can be linked to this energy dip that nobody's addressing. Maybe you're going into your doctor and they're like, oh, whatever. They don't even listen to that part. Because, guys, I worked for doctors and that's the answer I got. So I know that it's happening for you too. Okay. It's not just me. So that's why today we're going to break this down because the real cause behind these blood sugar highs and lows, these crashes, is how insulin resistance is playing a major role in your metabolism. And most importantly, we're going to end up with what you can do about it that's not involving these medications and stuff that really aren't helping and are not working. If they didn't work for me, and doctors don't understand the real mechanism and they're not testing for the real root cause, I'm not the only one. In fact, 99% of us are suffering with some kind of insulin disorder. So I want you to stick with me until the end because this protocol I'm going to talk about, and it can help you stabilize your blood sugar levels, getting you off that roller coaster. But before we get to that, you need to understand why this is happening in the first place. Can we all agree on that? If you guys want to jump ahead and ask questions, please jump ahead and ask questions. I get distracted, but let's try to get this through but ask questions because I love to get those answers out to you guys when I can, right? I'm not trying to be a doctor diagnosing anything, but I'm trying to help people understand what's really happening with them. So now that we understand what's going on with hypoglycemia, what's actually happening when you experience it, let's talk about it. Hypoglycemia is just the medical term for low blood sugar, and that just means that the amount of glucose or sugar in your bloodstream has dropped too low. And what's too low? For most people, that's going to be about 60 in the presence of these symptoms, okay? Sudden fatigue or weakness, shakiness or trembling, rapid heartbeat, sweating or chills, dizziness and lightheadedness, brain fog and difficulty concentrating, intense hunger, irritability and anxiety, and feeling like you're about to pass out. Those are signs that your blood sugar, even if it's at 60, is just too low for you and you need to do something about it. But what we're told to do might not be the best thing for you, and that we're going to dive into as well. But understand that you can hit a low of about 60 with your blood sugars and be totally fine. It's not the end of the world unless you're having those symptoms that I just mentioned, because that means your body's going into crash mode. Okay. So you may have headaches, blurred vision, or nausea, even if it gets worse. So pay attention to that. If you have those headaches and nausea, when you're feeling that fatigue and that I just want to lay down, you better get something done about your blood sugar. But more importantly, you need to take care of it long term because that's what's causing the problem, is this long-term problem, and we're going to dive in. So there are multiple reasons why you might have hypoglycemia. There are multiple reasons. Some are rare conditions like pancreatic insulinomas, adrenal gland disorders, and they can cause dangerously low blood sugar. Certain medications can cause low blood sugar. So be aware of that. If you're on medications, know what those side effects are. Excessive alcohol intake, it still is an insulin problem, you guys. If you're spiking your blood sugars through alcohol, you're still spiking your blood sugars, and that's a problem. So skipping meals can also contribute, they say. What if I tell you this, that skipping meals, especially in a 16-hour period, is what actually starts to make it better. Some intermittent fasting actually starts to allow your body to address this whole thing much easier and get you back on track. And I don't think that's addressed enough. Like, we're become so scared of that word fasting when just not eating for a few hours, they call it fasting because we're such gluttons, we're being told to eat all the time, and that's not the right path. In fact, there are some lovely people on here that I see every day when I hop on, and they're doing their fitness programs, and they're doing their coaching, and they're telling people to eat every 2 hours. They're telling people to skip the fats and eat these carbohydrates. That's the wrong approach because that's making people sicker, and this is proven by metabolic scientists and doctors who understand metabolism. We'll dive into some of that later, but let's go back to the hypoglycemia. Can you have butter and coffee for breakfast? Yaki, I don't know how to say your name right, so I apologize if I said it wrong. So look, before I even understood all of this stuff, I just knew that I needed to mobilize the fat in my body as a fuel source. I didn't know all the science behind why, right? So I used to have coffee and butter for breakfast. Yes, I did coffee, butter, and coconut oil or MCT oils. And that's a great way to start your breakfast, your morning, and not have all the carbohydrates. But I'm going to give you a way that's even better than that, because here's the thing. One, if you're going to do that coffee butter for breakfast, make sure that you're drinking a really clean coffee, because coffees are known to be high in molds and other toxins, which only causes more inflammation, which can spike your insulin. Your butter, make sure that it's just whole cream and maybe some salt, or you're spiking your insulin. Okay. And it's just a small amount of butter that you have, not a lot in that stage. That's going to cue your body to start using ketones for fuel, but that helps you regulate sugars more effectively. So yes, coffee and butter is a great way to start the morning, but I'm going to give you something that's even much better, and I'm going to talk about why. So just hang out with me for a minute, because there's a tea that just knocks coffee on its butt, hands down, and the effects it has in your life, in your energy, stable energy. It enacts GLP-1 in your system, and especially with something like butter or MCT oils in it, it's amazing for your metabolism, and it's super clean without all the toxins, the pesticides, the microplastics, all the stuff that everybody's talking about. It's been cleaned of those things. So hang out with me. You might like this tea. I have so many people who are coffee drinkers, and I tried coffee for a long time to get my metabolism moving, and this just is what works for so many people. All right. So postprandial hypoglycemia. We're talking about low blood sugar. And postprandial means post, after, prandial, eating. Okay, so after eating, postprandial. I'll use some big words because I love big words, but I want everybody to understand what those big words are. So hypo, again, is low. Glycemia is sugar. So postprandial hypoglycemia means just that you have low blood sugar after you eat. Okay. And how it's linked to insulin resistance goes like this. This happens when your blood sugar spikes too high after eating and then crashes too low right after. And that's a sign that your body is struggling to regulate blood sugar properly. Normally, that doesn't happen. But when we start to build high levels of insulin in the body, when we've trained the body to produce insulin too quickly, and insulin is a transport hormone for sugar, then we start to have a problem. This is where it gets a little complicated. So sometimes it can happen and sometimes not. Like if you have that coffee and butter, you're not going to have that blood sugar spike and drop, right? If you have, listen to me, folks, this is going to go against everything you've been being told in the last 10 to 20 years. If you have steak and eggs, you're not likely to have that postprandial postprandial hypoglycemia. You haven't spiked your blood sugar high. What does spike your blood sugar high and cause that low blood sugar after eating? Things like cereals, bagels, croissants, potatoes. And think about the breakfasts we have. If you go to like McDonald's or someplace for and grab a quick breakfast, you get an egg sandwich, right? Many of you are ordering it without that cholesterol piece in the middle, the yolk, and that's actually damaging you to not have the yolk. Okay. Yes, you're getting the protein without the fats, but those fats are not translating to your dietary fats are not translating to your body fats, right? So, but it's all wrapped in carbs and it's sided with more carbs. And so now you have a meal that's essentially high glycemic. So high glycemic means it's going to spike your blood sugar quicker. Low glycemic means it doesn't spike your blood sugar as quickly. It spikes it very little. So low glycemic things would be things like avocados and steak and that. And Yaki Nick, I am primarily carnivore, but not completely because I still caveat, I still love croissants. I still love some of that stuff. I just don't eat them all the time. So my first meal today was some ham and cheese and a bowl of curry soup that was made with pumpkin. So more carbohydrates than I normally eat, but I was just cold and wanting that warmth, right? And I had a small croissant along the side of that. So that wasn't a perfect meal for me, but I still am able to manage this. Now, for dinner, generally I have like chicken, mushrooms, tomatoes, or steak and eggs. I love eggs. Last night I had some chicken sausage with Gouda and some eggs, and that was my dinner. So I predominantly eat proteins now that I understand more what's happening in the body with all these things. I do think that for most of us, unless you're strictly carnivore and not eating anything else, we need protein, or not protein, we need fiber in our diets. And I'll explain why in just a little bit. But I love that you're a carnivore because um, I don't, I mean, I'm curious about it, but I'm not, uh, I'm 61. I, I, I've lived a long life. I've done a lot. I want to enjoy the moments with my grandson and whatnot and not be like Jordan Peterson eating strip steak and salt every day. Yeah, he feels better, but you can do it without being like that. Now, okay, so let's go back to, and I bet that if you're a carnivore, you're not experiencing this hypoglycemic problem at all. But there's a simpler route to that. We're going to go over it in just a minute. So what's happening is when you have these high glycemic foods, rice, grains, pastas, breads, root vegetables like potatoes, those make your blood sugar shoot up really high really quickly. Candy bars, granola bars, cereals, oatmeal can make your blood sugar spike really quickly. What's happening is when your blood sugar spikes, your body's going to produce insulin to transport that energy into the cells. But when it spikes really quickly, instead of a nice slow spike, your body goes into crisis mode. And it says, oh my gosh, there's this crisis. We have so much blood sugar in our bloodstream and it's going to cause all this damage. And we're going to get really sick if we don't do something with it. So insulin, come to the rescue. And insulin comes out and it comes out really high. And it's like this big soldier that says, I'm done with you, glucose. We're going to get you out of the system. We're not going to allow you to cause any damage. And it delivers all that glucose to whatever cells will take it. And now your blood sugar is low. So you experience this time when you have some energy in your bloodstream. Insulin is taking it to the cells that will accept it. But then when most of the cells in this state are not accepting it, it delivers it into your fat cells. You're getting heavier. You're having these energy highs and lows. You're feeling fatigued, stuck somewhere in the middle of this pinball machine, and you don't know why. And one of the big reasons a food is high glycemic is the lack of fiber. You know what keeps those carbohydrates that you're eating from spiking your blood sugar that quickly is fiber. Fiber is the key to keeping those high glucose foods from spiking your blood sugar, from causing this crazy crisis mode in your body where insulin comes out and starts throwing you around like a pinball between these energy highs and lows. Hey, Maria, so good. I saw you hop in. So good to see you. So, here's what's really happening. You eat a meal, and especially a high glycemic meal, or you have a Snickers bar and a soda pop, right? Or soda pop. Can you tell my age by the way I talk? Or you have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or anything that's spiking your glucose high. And that high carb or sugar then makes your blood sugar rise quickly. Your pancreas responds by increasing a lot of insulin, not just a little. It's going to increase a lot because you just spiked your blood sugar in a hurry, and so your body's panicking. Okay. So that's too much insulin. And that causes your blood sugar to drop too low in response to this a lot of insulin really quickly. So that leads to the crash and all the symptoms of hypoglycemia. And then the cycle just repeats over and over because, like, when I've always worked in some form of medical. I shouldn't say always. I started out working in retirement homes and then in convalescent homes. But one of the things they did was, as people came in that were diabetic, every 2 hours, I had to drive this cart down and I had to make sure that they were getting their orange juice or some kind of carbohydrate so that their blood sugars wouldn't drop, so that they wouldn't die, right? That's wrong, wrong, wrong. They've now proven that actually is making things worse. So here's something also that's interesting, along with this hypoglycemia. So you're like, well, my blood sugars are low, but I'm gaining weight. And none of what you talk about normally makes sense to me, Misha. This just isn't making sense. Well, when you have that high level of insulin, you're putting on fat. When you have drugs that are given to you to increase your insulin amount in your body, you're putting on weight. When a doctor is injecting you with insulin, then you're type 2 diabetic, you're putting on weight. Even if you're type 1 diabetic and you're getting too much insulin too often, you're going to start to get heavy. So I've seen type 1 diabetics who are very thin. I've seen some who have a weight problem as well. And that's because they're relying on insulin too often to address those blood sugar spikes. Insulin makes you fatter, and it makes this blood sugar roller coaster. Um, then that's causing the problem. So why just not eat carbs and sugar? Gotcha. I was like, why not just, I read it wrong. So Gina, if you can do that, or Gen X, if you can do that, grandma, Gen X grandma, why not? Because most people cannot sustain that. When you walk into the grocery store, you're faced with bag box barcoded foods. Most people don't know what high glycemic or low glycemic is. Most people don't understand what these foods are. Most people tell me that eating protein is just too expensive. Most people just are not at a place where they can do that. So what I'm talking about is something that works for the general population who's not like Yaki, who can do carnivore. Because I'm going to tell you, if I walk into a household and say, you're going to eat nothing but steak for the rest of your life, and I know that it's going to benefit them, great. But are they going to stick to it? No, no. Ocean fits escape. I am healthy. That's a very toxic statement that you made, and you know nothing about me. So I used to have most of those diseases too, and I'm free from them now. Maybe you should stick around and learn a little bit about me before you start making blanket statements that are just really toxic. In fact, I might just invite you to leave if you want to be that toxic, because I don't deal with it. If I eat just one bagel, you'll crave another high carb food within an hour. Hence, you have no choice. And Yaki, that's true for most people. So when we have these high and low blood sugar spikes, it's causing us. And actually, when we eat those high glycemic foods, those carbohydrates, we crave them more. And there's a whole cascade of things going on behind the scenes that makes you crave more of them. And this hypoglycemia is part of it, because your body's crisis mode, right? Blood sugar drops. So now we got to get the blood sugar out of the bloodstream, to now we got to get sugar in the bloodstream, and we're not stopping eating long enough for that to be addressed. So there's that. But then there's also a gut microbiome that's been hijacked by all of this stuff. Even our raw organic foods don't have enough fiber, and our guts are hijacked and we're overrun with negative gut microbiome, and that makes us crave sugar. So when you ingest a little bit of it and you have not got your gut microbiome under control, when you have not got some of this other stuff under control, you're going to crave more right away. And even if you do have it under control and you've been living a lifestyle like you've been like living, I'm going to call you Nick, okay? When you've been living a good lifestyle like you're living, then you're going to notice it even more. So as I cleaned up my act over the last 4 years, I've noticed that when I have seed oils or when I have sugar, then I will notice a different reaction in my body. In the first year or so, I know there was emotionally triggered foods that, like my father passed away and I wanted to remember him. And there were certain things we had together, and we all have those memories, right? But I would try to eat those same things and they no longer held the same even taste. Because as you change the gut microbiome, as you change the inflammation in your system, as you change the cellular health in your system, you will start to crave different things. What did I have for a snack today? Just like a small, I was like experiencing some gastrointestinal discomfort under a lot of stress right now. I had some cottage cheese. And I was like, "I haven't had cottage cheese in a while, this is really good." But 4 years ago, it would have been a Snickers bar, a bag of chips, a something like that to get out of that. Your tastes will change as you progress in this whole lifestyle. You will start to notice how toxic foods taste when you're away from them. The problem is for most people, making that cutoff and that shift change is just too difficult and they can't sustain it. They give up. They go back to what they were doing too early, and then they're sick again, and then they're just done giving up. And so now they're on a roller coaster of this diet, this thing, that thing that they just can't sustain. So, Gen X grandma, that's kind of why, because what I want to give people is something that they can sustain and take steps toward a healthier life. So, think of it like a ladder. If you had to get to the top of a 3-story building and somebody put a ladder in front of you and took away all the bottom rungs and only left you maybe the top 5 rungs of that ladder, so you had a way to get there, right? But the bottom is a struggle because there's no rungs to walk up. Are you gonna be able to get how many people are actually gonna make it up that ladder? How many people are gonna stick to, whatever resources they have to do, especially in an unhealthy body, to get to those top rungs where they can walk up the ladder? That's why I do this solution, because it's giving people a real science-backed solution that allows them to address where they're at without feeling incompetent, insufficient, broken. Yeah, sharing your diet is useful to all of us. Carnivore diet is extremely difficult and no fiber. So and that's the thing, is that I had hypertension so bad. It was over 30 years that it was high, like 180 over 150. I had these hypoglycemic, postprandial hypoglycemic episodes. I've lost 3 joints to joint replacement. I lost my gallbladder to insulin resistance. All of this was insulin resistance and much more. Sleep apnea that had me waking up 60 times an hour. That's not my case anymore. So what I eat now is very differently. I simply fast for 16 hours a day. I'll explain the fasting schedule in a little bit, but what really is happening, all you need to know is that intermittent fasting is just giving your body a rest from all of that insulin and allowing your cells to heal, allowing your body to use the secondary source of fuel, which is fat, which is why the carnivore diet works. By the way, eating meat still spikes your insulin, but at a very low level, because you're still getting some glucose out of that meat, but you're more predominantly getting sources of protein and other nutrients. That's why it works so well for people. But it is very hard for people to maintain. Now, actually, I found it easier to do a 5 or 10 day fast than to just be carnivore, because I live in a world that, has birthdays, that has a grandson who loves pizza, that, today's my birthday, we're going out to dinner on Friday. I don't, I want to enjoy my family time. And part of that is just the communion that we have when we're eating dinner together. Does that mean I'm going to go eat a ton of pasta and stuff? No, I'm probably still going to have something like chicken or steak and some vegetables. I may indulge in a baked potato, but I'm going to have the right kind of fiber in before I eat that. And I'll cut back on the bread and stuff that I would used to have with it. But my daily diet is I have 2 meals a day. One of them is usually something like chicken sausage or steak or chicken, eggs. Um, and then I don't eat a lot of vegetables, so I just never have been a big vegetable eater. But I'm Native American, and the tribe I came from, we just were not big vegetable eaters. We eat cranberries, but not a lot of the other stuff. So, do I eat them? Yes, I do eat vegetables. But I don't lean toward veganism. I tried it for over a year and I felt like I was crumbling. I wasn't feeling healthier. So we're going to talk about fiber in a little bit and why that's so important and why fiber allows you to have some of these carbohydrates that makes it so you don't have to be so extreme with your diet. Now, if you're really sick, like Jordan Peterson and his daughter had a lot of autoimmune diseases, you might want to give that a try because it might actually help you, but there's an easier way. So, we understand that, or does everybody understand that hypoglycemia is really a factor of your blood sugar going too high too quick? Now, I talk a lot when I talk about the fasting schedule, why 16 hours. I usually talk about how it takes about 2 hours after we eat for our blood sugar to spike, to get to its highest point. And then it takes about 4 hours for it to come back down. And that time, our insulin has spiked to match a level of where our blood sugars are. Once insulin comes out, it can take 8 hours for it to come back down. During that time, insulin is forcing you to hold on to things. It's anabolic. It doesn't want things to break down. So that means you can't lose fat. You can't do much, but be hungry for more energy. And by the way, you get hungry because your brain is not getting energy, your gut is not getting energy, your muscles are not getting energy, and that's all being blocked with insulin resistance. So you're experiencing hunger. You're like, I just ate. I have low blood sugar and I'm hungry. I don't know why this is happening. It's because your metabolism is all out of whack because we're eating way too many carbs. So 8 hours before insulin comes down, and then the component hormone in your metabolism is called glucagon. It's catabolic. It wants to eat things up. So when that hormone comes out, it starts to spurn this production of ketones and or not HGH, but just growth hormone, because HGH is a synthetic form. Um, but growth hormone comes out, ketones come out, and now your body's building up and ready to not only clean up old cells that are dead and dying, but start to burn fat for fuel. This is called autophagy, and our body needs this cellular cleanup. Do you know that your bones need it too? Your bones need to be able to not just break down, but build up. And in insulin resistance, so we have osteoblasts and osteoclasts. So it's like one team is like stripping the building, and the other team is coming back and painting new cells on. And the other team goes back and it starts stripping off the old cells, and the other team comes back and strips and paints stuff back on. That's our bones, continuously growing and continuously breaking down and building back up. In insulin resistance, the team that's building the muscle, the bone back up, can't do its job. So now you have this continuous tear down, tear down, tear down, but nothing building back up. Intermittent fasting and that autophagy starts to allow that shift where we're getting rid of some of that stuff that's being torn down, but now the cells that are building back up, or the components that are building the bones back up, can start to do their job. And this is part of also, this was not the talk for today, this is why you start to get brittle bones, insulin resistance, because your bones are tearing down quicker than they can build up because of the high amounts of sugar that we're eating. Osteoporosis, yes, exactly that. Okay, so I had extreme arthritis, osteo and rheumatoid arthritis And they used to say that only osteoarthritis was linked to insulin resistance, but now they're understanding that rheumatoid arthritis is also linked. I had them both. I've had both hips and one knee replaced. And now I have one knee that was also supposed to be replaced in 2021. I used to have injections in that knee, steroidal injections to help me deal with the pain. I don't have that knee replaced. It's not in pain. It doesn't pop. It doesn't click. It doesn't hurt. The meniscus has actually grown back in that because I addressed insulin resistance. Yep. Osteoporosis is horrible, but that yeah, Nick, when that's happening in your bones, that's also happening in your muscles. So interesting thing. I'll talk about the kidneys later today, and I might do a bigger talk on kidneys tomorrow because I'm actually working with somebody who has very low kidney function, and I want to talk about that in depth tomorrow because 1930 we had a recommendation for how to eat with kidney function that's decreased, and it's actually making it worse. And so I want to address that tomorrow. But let's get back to the blood sugar roller coaster. So here's the thing. You're having this roller coaster. Remember, blood sugars are going too high too quick. Uh, Crisis mode in the body. Now you're having high levels of insulin that are delivering the sugar too quickly, bottoming your blood sugars out. You're tired, you're fatigued, you have headaches, you're feeling nauseous, you're feeling cold, you're feeling hungry because your body goes, whoa, there's no energy in my body. We need more energy. So you go out and eat something again, but instead of eating something that like protein that will get your blood sugars back up, you're eating the sugary bar or the chips or the orange juice, and that just causes another high spike that causes the problem to happen all over again, and you're not really getting better, and you're following the recommendations, but you're not understanding why this is happening. And maybe you feel trapped because you're just in this cycle of eating every 2 hours and trying to rescue yourself from this crash that's happening. When what really needs to happen is you need to stop eating all the damn time, and you need to stop eating all the foods that are high glycemic, causing those high blood sugar spikes, or at least start to put some fiber in that can start to slow down the blood sugar spike. That's what's really going to work. Okay. So, um, any questions so far? You guys are amazing. So remember hyperinsulinemia, just we talked about hypoglycemia. So hypo being low, hyper being high. Too little, too much. Hyper. Glycemia, just the amount of sugar in your blood. Now, insulin or hyperinsulinemia is too much insulin in the blood all the time as a result of too much sugar in the blood too often. Okay. So, hyperinsulinemia is not just a minor inconvenience. Hyperinsulinemia is the first step. You have these high levels of insulin. Now you have hyperinsulinemia. Now you have insulin resistance. Now you have the next stage is prediabetes, and then diabetes, and then type 3 diabetes or Alzheimer's. And along the way, you start having problems with brain function, with muscle function, with joint function, with bleeding teeth and gums, with failing eyesight, with your hair falling out on your head, with skin tags, with dark skin patches. Your belly starts to poke out. You have no energy. Your joints hurt everywhere, and you're more susceptible to having viral infections and even cancer because your body is breaking down and full of inflammation when there's too much insulin. It's not a small matter. When we start talking about insulin affecting dry eye, gone on carnivore. So, yeah, eye problems. Like my eyesight was, I'm 61, so these are 1.75 readers, 1.75 diopter readers. There was enough damage done to my eyes that I didn't reverse all of it. But at 56, I was wearing 3.0 diopter readers. So how did I, in 5 years, go from 3.0 to reducing the strength of my glasses by almost half by addressing my insulin resistance, by getting those blood sugars under control, by getting all the damage under control that's happening in my body when insulin levels are high? That's how I did it. So Understand that these blood sugar crashes, that feeling tired after you eat, it's not just about the tryptophan from the turkey and all the stuff. You know what? When they talk about I eat turkey and I get tired, they're not looking at the cranberry sauce and the sweet potatoes and the potatoes and all the other carbohydrates that were served with the turkey and saying, hey, maybe it's that that's causing this blood sugar dip. Maybe it's that that's causing you to feel tired. Yeah, the tryptophan can make you feel relaxed, but it's not going to make you feel shaky and tired and have headaches and feel like you just got to lay down because you've got no energy. We're looking at our food wrong. And we're being taught to look at our food wrong because if we look at it right, we're eating less and we're buying less of the bagged box barcoded bull crap that they're trying to sell us that's making us even more sick, making us go buy from brother big pharma. So big food sends us to big pharma sends us back to big food, and we're stuck in this cycle and we don't know why we're sick. Insulin resistance is why, and it all boils down to the food that we're getting and the food that we're eating. Okay. So, you guys, I try not to get too on uh, off topic on that, but man, my blood boils when I think about what's happening to us and what we're being sold and told, and it's just devastating, and it's actually killing people, and it makes me just furious that this is happening to the world abroad. And it's not just in the US. So in the US, about 93% of us are suffering with a cardiometabolic disorder. Worldwide, there's about 50% of us who suffer with a cardiometabolic disorder. That's huge. And those cardiometabolic disorders are linked to 95% of our chronic diseases that everyone is suffering with. And what's the root of all of those? Insulin resistance. And what's the root of insulin resistance? Crappy food. Food that's been stripped of nutrients and fiber and all the things we need. So there is a better way to stabilize your blood sugar. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the protocol that I use now. And now I have some people who are carnivore or carnivoristic like me who do it. I have vegans who do it. I have a number of people across the board. We have people with Hashimoto's, PCOS, with sleep apnea who've gotten better, with stage 3 kidney disease that reversed it, with liver problems, with gallbladder problems, with joint problems, with skin tags, with skin discoloration, with headaches, with hypertension that have all gotten better by just understanding this. And guess what? They didn't even understand it. Hey, fatty. They didn't understand it at first. They just knew they needed to do something different. And then they started to understand later. So if you're like me and you need to know, I'm trying to tell you how. But if you're like the other people who are just like, I just want to know what works, let's get to it. Okay. So carnivore, Nick, is one way you can do it. I absolutely agree with that. Intermittent fasting is absolutely necessary. I talked to you about that timeline. I didn't complete that. Hour 10, glucagon comes out, growth hormone comes up, ketones come up at hour 12. It takes about 2 hours for those to start to circulate and do their job in the body. At hour 14, you're able to start doing that cellular exchange as well as burn fat for fuel. So that's why we do a 16-hour fast. Now we've set ourselves up for these hormonal changes to happen that are necessary for us to be able to build healthier cells, for us to be able to reduce our hunger, for us to be able to burn some of the fat on our body. And then we have a meal. Now, some people will, in the beginning, some people would tell me, oh, it's just about calorie restriction. You're just not eating an extra meal, so you're just reduced your calories, and that's why it worked, and it has nothing to do with the hormones. Bullshit. So what's really happening is you could have a 2,000 calorie diet and you spread it out over the day, and you're spiking your blood sugar consistently throughout the day. And depending on what you're making that 2,000 calories of makes a difference too. Yes, it does. But you're continuously spiking your insulin. And so your insulin is never coming down like it's supposed to. So you never are able to get into that fat burning state. You start over again the next morning. Just when glucagon comes out and your insulin level is down, you spike your insulin again and you miss the bigger part of this whole metabolic exchange. So you could have 2,000 calories in an 8-hour period in 2 big meals instead of spread out over 6 smaller meals and have a much better effect. Now you're allowing insulin to go down. You're not depleting yourself of the energy and the nutrients you need because you're focusing on foods that are giving you those nutrients and proteins and healthy fats. and you actually start losing weight and you actually start feeling better. Because I want to address that too. Weight loss and the size on a specific person's body does not indicate their health. Some very thin people can be diabetic quicker than some very heavy people. They can have more of these devastating disorders. So I'm not advocating for, extreme obesity, any of that, but I'm just saying stop judging people by the outside. Understand that what really matters is what's on the inside, and how much muscle they're carrying, how much fat they're carrying, how much health is inside their body, how much inflammation they're carrying or not carrying. Because with insulin resistance, you're carrying a whole lot of inflammation that's causing you to puff up. Okay. We got to get the blood sugars under control to start to reverse all of that. So, this is what it looks like with the protocol. So, when I normally talk about it, we're talking about high blood sugars a lot. Today, we're talking about low blood sugars. So, when you have those blood sugar spikes and crashes, your body's going through those extreme highs and lows. Some of the most common physical symptoms, let's recap, are sudden fatigue or exhaustion, shakiness or weakness, your hands are trembling, your legs feel unsteady, you struggle to focus, you have dizziness or lightheadedness, you feel like you might pass out if you don't eat something right now. Okay. You have rapid heartbeat or palpitations. You're racing heart for no reason as your body's panicking to correct its blood sugar. Okay. Your body goes into panic mode and goes, ooh, we gotta start pumping things up, and we got to get more sugar in the system. But again, remember, insulin is blocking you from burning fat for fuel that's going to get you more energy. So the only resource it has is to get more sugar in. Your heart's racing, telling you you need something to eat, and it's the wrong thing to do, is to take in high glycemic foods like pastas, rice grains, bagged box barcoded cereals, bagels. Everybody loves bagels. Like, no, you guys stop it. Especially for breakfast, stop it. Maybe you're experiencing excessive sweating, even in normal temperatures. You can break into a cold sweat. You get those chills. You get goosebumps. You have headaches or migraines. You have those sudden headaches that accompany nausea. And then you have what Nick was talking about earlier. You have those cravings for carbs. It's like insatiable. And it's not that you're weak, that every cell in your body is saying, I need energy. And so you're craving carbs to give your body energy, but you're giving your body energy in a broken system that can't use the energy you're trying to take in. So then you have unstable energy levels. 1 minute you're energized, the next you crash and need a nap. But here's what's really happening. Okay. Here's what's really going to help you take control of that blood sugar. So the protocol that I use, Nick, is doing, I don't know where my fiber packet went. Doesn't matter. There it is. So the protocol that I'm doing is nutritional support. It's real food products. It is vegan, but so carnivores can use it, vegans can use it. It's gluten free. It's just real food products that have been scientifically designed and packaged to affect your metabolism so that you can stop these blood sugar highs and even these blood sugar lows that are causing you to have energy highs and lows. So what it looks like is this. You have 2 teas in a day and 1 of the pre-meal drink. Now, I specifically have at least 2 teas and at least 2 of the pre-meal drink, because the more I learn about fiber, the more I want to make sure, and I already admitted that I don't get a lot in through fruits and vegetables, the more I want to make sure I'm getting this fiber in. Now, I have what I call native gut. I get anxious. It's a combination of ADHD, autism, and being native. My gut's just way more acidic than the average person. So even when I'm doing everything right, I can have acidity in my gut. I don't take Tums. I don't take any of that. I drink a fiber. It automatically calms it down and calms down that inflammation going on in my gut. So for everybody else, it's going to be 2 teas and 1 fiber a day, and this is what it's going to look like. I just mix both of my teas up in 1 big mug. This is my first tea. I'm almost done with it, and I have a second one mixed up. Actually, this is 2 teas in here. The next one has another tea and some matcha tea in it. This is what I drink during the day. It tastes great. I drink a lot of water as well. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink other teas. I used to have buckets of herbal teas around the house. Guys, a lot of the coffees and the herbal teas have a ton of toxins and molds in them. They're not cleaned. They're just mass produced. These are cleaned of that stuff. So the tea, what's happening? Why the tea twice a day? And Nick, you were asking about coffee. So the difference with this tea and coffee, there's about the same amount of caffeine in them in the tea as in the cup of coffee, but there's other components in it like chlorogenic acids, mate saponins, theobromine, and a few other things that help mediate the effects of caffeine. So instead of getting this high level of energy that drops you out the bottom, you're getting a more stable increase of energy that lasts longer and dips out slower. So you're not experiencing those energy crashes, but you are experiencing a lot more mental clarity and actually in athletic, just in everyday life, but especially in athletic forums, it can increase stamina and performance by 10 to 15%, this tea, because of the natural actions that are happening in it. So, as far as hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, here's what's happening. The tea increases your GLP-1, your glucagon like peptide 1. Why does that matter? It's a powerful hormone, peptide hormone, that slows digestion and that reduces blood sugar spikes and helps keep you fuller longer. So instead of your digestion going directly into that small intestine and delivering high amounts of sugar all at once, it's slowing that down a little. So now you have a more regulated intake of sugar into your bloodstream, helping avoid those spikes and lows. The higher GLP-1 levels also mean less insulin is needed. So when you have more glucagon like peptide, you need less insulin. And that's important because remember, we need insulin, but we need insulin in just enough to do the job. This is helping us be more insulin sensitive. So the insulin is getting into the cells better and it's not creating more need for insulin. Now the energy is going into the cells that are starving for it and not into the storage cells or the fat cells as quickly. Okay, so that helps insulin reverse the insulin resistance that causes the blood sugar highs and lows over time. But the teas also, with that GLP-1 pathway, prescription medications like Ozempic use it, but this is a natural pathway to support your own body's production. So Ozempic, Mounjaro, all of those things. They're glucagon-like peptide agonists. They're not really creating more glucagon-like peptide in your body, but what they're doing is when we have these hormones, there's receptors on your cells for those hormones. Those agonists are now, let's slow down a second. Insulin resistance, your hormone receptors are blocked to insulin. They're shut down. Just don't want to work anymore. The agonist for glucagon like peptide hormone, those medications have to be injected or they break down if they pass through the liver. But part of what they're doing is they're blocking those glucagon like peptide receptors open. Now, I don't know about you, but one thing that I know, is anytime we force the body to do something, it's causing downline problems. So pancreatic cancer is happening. We have bowel blockages. We have a number of other issues happening with those peptide agonists. This is producing your own glucagon-like peptide in your body in a natural state that ebbs and flows as your body needs it, not messing with the receptors, allowing them to utilize what it needs when it needs it. Big difference between this and this tea has been proven to increase that GLP-1 in your body naturally. It doesn't have it in it. It's letting your body produce it up to 70% higher than your body produces it otherwise. Okay. So it supports, the tea is supporting your body switching from glucose to fat burning in that fasted state I talked about, that growth hormone and that ketone production. Sorry, TikTok is doing a check on me. That goes up with the tea. So when I'm drinking the tea in a fasted state, the production of those hormones are much higher than they would be without it. That's helping me not feel hungry during a fast. That's helping me utilize sugars and keep the insulin down so that I'm starting to be more um, regulated to sugars. And that is how this is working in part. But it also contains compounds that improve your mitochondrial efficiency. So the little powerhouses in your cells. This is increasing how well they work inside your cells. Those injections are not increasing your mitochondrial efficiency. Again, we're supporting the body to do what it's meant to do. We're not forcing it to do anything. Okay. So it also increases dopamine and serotonin levels. That gives you mental clarity and better mood. And when you have better mental clarity, better mood, your brain's not feeling hungry, you have less hunger, you have less sugar cravings, you have less of that going on. You're in more control of your metabolism, and it reduces stress driven cravings. So you're not reaching for sugar just to feel better or just to come out of that crash. You already have energy. This is helping you achieve that without sugar, which is going to help hypoglycemia in the long run. Now, the pre-meal drink, the one that I love to drink for off use things all the time, this is helping your gut microbiome. It's helping blunt the delivery of sugar into your bloodstream. So when we go out for dinner Friday night, there will probably be bread and some kind of rolls on the table, and there will probably be baked potatoes or something and I don't know what else. I don't know where they're taking me. I don't know. Maybe it'll be Indian food, maybe it'll be barbecue, maybe it'll be Mexican. Who knows? I'm letting them pick. All I know is I'm going to take this before I eat because it will reduce a blood sugar spike up to 40%, especially with high glycemic foods. So that 40% reduction in blood sugar means a reduction in insulin, which means that my blood sugars are under control and I'm not experiencing those highs and lows that are causing quick energy, but this bottom dropping out 20 minutes later. Okay. Hey, Jenny. So this slows down that glucose absorption. It contains 7 different types of fiber, soluble and insoluble, and that's important. The soluble fibers form a gel-like barrier in the stomach, and that slows down the breakdown of carbs, flattening blood sugar spikes. No more spikes. It brings it down. Remember, by up to 40%. The liquid security blanket. I love that. I've never called it that, but this is my security blanket. It's always with me. So yeah. So when you have that lower, more stable blood sugar level, you have less need for insulin. Now your body's not shutting down to high levels of insulin that's annoying it, and it becomes more receptive to insulin over time, less blood sugar crashing later. So it also feeds the gut microbiome, and your gut bacteria play a huge role in metabolic health. So an unhealthy microbiome contributes to insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, and poor sugar control. So you guys, I'm getting messages here, there, and everywhere, and it distracts me. The prebiotic fibers in the drink, the prebiotics, they're feeding your good gut microbiome. Sugar's feeding the negative gut microbiome. So part of the problem is when you're eating sugar, you're overgrowing things like yeast and other bad bacteria in your gut. They're hungry. They want to thrive. You're craving more sugar. That's one of the actions of why you crave sugar. This has prebiotics. This is getting your gut microbiome back in balance because we need both. And it's feeding those probiotics. You guys, if you're taking probiotics and you're not getting in enough fiber, you're wasting your money. It's like you're dumping all of this money into your gut that can't thrive because you're not feeding it. So if you want to take probiotics, and I do take a probiotic from the same company, but feed it some good fiber so that it can survive. If you're taking a probiotic and then you're just dumping more sugar in your system, you're sending a wounded soldier into battle, and it just can't do it. Okay. Okay. Fiber is in that. So Erica, that's a really good question. So let's break that down really quick. Um, there's about 5 grams of fiber in this. Now, I want to talk about that. The daily recommendation is about 30 grams of fiber. Most of us get in 10 to 15. That recommendation is based highly on the fact that most people are not getting in a good variety of fibers. If you're getting in the right variety of fibers, it takes a little less fiber than the 30 grams to see the same results. This has been looked at by metabolic scientists like Dr. Ben Bickman was one of the guy who helped develop these two products, the guy who wrote this book, who just was on Diary of a CEO. The amount of fibers in this are actually doing action in your gut. So your car needs gas and oil. Most people are putting in fiber as if they're just putting gas in and they're not changing the oil. You need enough. That's not enough. I have 2 of these a day, and it's been more than enough for me. Sometimes I have 3 a day. You could add flaxseed to it. Yeah, but flaxseed is a very different fiber. These fibers, you can. I'm gonna absolutely, if that's what you wanna do that. But these fibers are specifically designed, and they're specific fibers that have been known to address blood sugar spikes. So they're in here because they slow down blood sugar. This is not a pooping fiber. This is not a, oh, I'm going to take this fiber so I can have regularity. This is a, I want to address my blood sugar problem. That's what fiber is in here. Flaxseed gives you more of that bulk fiber that can help a little bit with weight loss and some of the blood sugar, but it's not really addressing the blood sugar. That's why this one. But yeah, you can add flaxseed. I don't see a problem with that. So the fiber also is lowering your LDL balance and your cholesterol. It's helping block cholesterol absorption. And remember, cholesterol is, I didn't say that before. Cholesterol is coming from inflammatory oils like seed oils or the white oils in clear bottles and sugar. They're not coming from the yolks of your egg, the fat on your steak, the fat on your chicken, the avocado oil, the extra virgin olive oil, the coconut oil. That's not where high cholesterol is coming from. It's those seed oils that cause inflammation and sugar. Okay. So now it's helping block cholesterol absorption, reducing the formation of LDL pattern B. I'll probably do a talk on heart this week because I love that talk, and I'll explain pattern B particles in the heart talk. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow, and I'll save the kidney talk till Thursday, okay? So, or Friday. So that LDL pattern B, because you have different types of LDL, we're just not measuring for them, but I can give you a calculation to tell you if you're producing too much LDL B. If you guys want that, give me some hearts and I'll give you that calculation. But this fiber helps you reduce that LDL pattern B, which is linked to heart disease and metabolic issues. The fiber's helping you with that. This fiber is helping you with that. It supports your overall cardiovascular health by reducing inflammation in your blood vessels. It's supporting weight loss and appetite control because it slows digestion and stabilizes blood sugar. It reduces cravings and keeps you feeling fuller for longer. And that helps break the cycle of constant hunger and snacking, making fat loss and metabolic healing much easier. Meaning, no more low blood sugar, no more high blood sugar. You're stable. That's why these fibers. So it's 2 tea in a day and 1 fiber. Now, I'm working with a guy who has some pretty severe kidney disorder. That's why I want to talk about kidneys on Friday. My personal recommendation, not a doctor, not diagnosing, but my personal recommendation, if it was me, I would do 1 tea a day because the tea will make you pee. I've never said that before, so that was interesting. The tea will make you pee. Why is it making you pee? Because it's making your body recognize and get rid of toxins out of your body. It's not just because you're overhydrated. It's because your body's like, oh, there's all these toxins running around in this tea. There's the components in this tea, especially like the chlorogenic acids. They're saying, woo, we want these toxins out. So now what gets the toxins out of your body? Your poop or your pee. And oftentimes it's your pee. So now your kidneys are filtering more. So for him, I would recommend 1 tea a day and 2 fiber because the fiber is going to help blunt those blood sugar spikes, helping his kidneys heal up. So you guys, that's the cool thing with it. It's food. I can have 1 fiber a day. I can have 3 fiber a day. I think I've had 4 fiber a day because, again, I use it. Even when I'm fasting, I take it because it's feeding my good gut microbiome. If I'm having anxiety, which is common with autism, if I'm having anxiety and I experience some acid reflux or some like stomach problems, I'll have the fiber because it calms that down. It just coats my stomach and calms that down. If I'm having extra hunger, I will have the fiber, and I had uncontrolled IBS 4 years ago, so bad that I was afraid to go to the grocery store. I would have to wait hours after I ate before I even dared go to the grocery store. It was that bad. I don't have those issues now. And it's because my gut microbiome has been fixed, my metabolism has been fixed, my diabetes has been reversed, my hypertension is gone, my all my numbers, the lab numbers are under control. Acid reflux is another thing, you guys. When we have this negative gut microbiome, there's so many factors to acid reflux. If you'd like me to talk about acid reflux, maybe I'll do that on Monday. I'll make a note. Let me make a note, because there's a number of factors, from the excess sugar and inflammation in your system, your gut not being able to work well, nerve system reduction, that all causes acid reflux. And by the way, it's not just the nerves in the gut that are being affected, it's the nerves in the brain that are actually increasing your anxiety. Jenny says hers is gone. Her acid reflux is gone. Jenny, I need to get your story, and because I want to start doing more success stories. So I should reach out to you. You can tell people in here, but my kids are waiting for me because it's my birthday, and Jenny did the same system that I'm doing, and she can tell you that. But she did the same system I'm doing. And you guys, it's crazy, just making some notes. It's crazy the things that get better for you when you address your insulin resistance. Thank you, Jenny. But the whole reason I do these talks is so that you guys can understand what's really happening to your health. And that, yeah, so Jenny, it took 2 years, right? Just like my blood pressure took more than 3 months. One of the things I didn't talk about today, and I'm going to try and wrap up in the next few minutes, is that it has a 90-day money-back guarantee. How many times have you gone to your doctor and had them give you a proton pump inhibitor? Haven't you been given any type of other medication and said, there's a 90-day money-back guarantee on it? Some of those medications are expensive. You have a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you're not feeling better, I'm not saying cured, but better in 90 days, we'll give you your money back. We back that with an A1C test. We have an A1C test through the company that you can do at home, so you're not having to run into a doctor and run to a lab and all that. But you can do this A1C test at home. Do one when you start, send another one in after 90 days. You'll see, the company will see your A1C, that measure of long-term glucose, goes down. If it doesn't, you get your money back. Okay. So yes, it's a game changer. It's what gave me my life back, you guys. I literally thought that by this time I would not be able to be going and doing stuff. Like, I just posted a video, or I'm about to post a video, about how I went to Kings Island with my grandson, spent 7 hours walking, an hour driving up and an hour driving back. That one had to do with neuropathy. 4 years ago, I would have said no to that trip, or I would have demanded a wheelchair because I was in so much pain, and I was just failing in my health, and I felt like I was dying. I don't feel like that now. My kids are going to go on a delayed honeymoon. It's been, 10 years since they got married, and they're finally getting to take their honeymoon. So they're going to go to Scotland this spring, or this early summer, and I'm going to have a little boy for 10 days. And guess what he wants to do? He wants to go to Kings Island, this big amusement park, as often as he can. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to be at Kings Island as many days as we can be. That's a lot of walking. That's a lot of driving. I don't have to worry about it anymore. 4 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to go. Yeah, and he's disabled, so it's gonna be a lot of carting him around, and a lot of, just care, and my health has to matter if I wanna be effective for my children and grandchildren. It's not just about me. If I'm not taking care of my health, and this goes for you guys too, if you're not taking care of your health, you're less effective in the world. Okay, Louise, I think I got your email, and so I promise you I will address that today. Um, just text me back and give me some times that work, and I will set that appointment where we can sit down and talk. Okay, I think I should have time in the next 2 days. This evening is gonna be busy, but yes, let's talk in the next 2 days. Text me back and let's just find a time that works. Okay? Okay, guys. So there's all of that 90-day money back guarantee. Use my link that's in my profile. It's on my profile on every platform I'm on. But use that link. There's a short page that explains the protocol to you, tells you about the cost, and then you can choose to talk to me like Louise is doing, or you can just order. Um, but either way, take that step for yourself. Now, the second part of this is if you're like me and you see these great results, Jenny, and anyone else, and you want to help other people. And I was thinking about this today. We always talk about we've been so gaslit and bashed about making money in this way. But here's the thing, what's wrong with that? I'm taking care of me, and I'm also taking care of other people. I'm not doing harm to other people to take care of me. If you want to be part of a team that's helping other people while extremely benefiting your health and your finances, let me know. I'm not going to make you any promises, just like I don't with the product. It is all about you and your commitment. But this is a great way. I was working two jobs just to survive 4 years ago. And when I saw the results I got with the system and I believed in it, the first thing I really, really believed in, simple, easy to address, so many people, 93% of us needing it, it was a no-brainer and my life changed. I've been able to follow my little grandson around the country, move wherever he's at. And our favorite saying, me and my grandson, I've told him long enough, where you go, I go. So now it goes like I point at him and say where you go, and he automatically responds, you go. He knows because of this business. He knows that grandma gets to be there. I don't care if he went to Siberia, I would be there to help take care of him. Whew, I'm going to cry. That means the world to me. And there's not a damn thing wrong with doing this kind of business to have that kind of impact in my own life. All right. Um, I've got to run. Kids are waiting for me for their birthday dinner with me, and I will see you guys tomorrow. We're going to talk about heart tomorrow. I want to explain the whole LDL pattern B thing. I want to explain why this is so important to your heart, and we're going to go into a little bit more with that. I love you all for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a beautiful and blessed day, and take care of your health. Okay? We'll see you later. Bye, guys.